With resignation, the woman looked at the zombie at the window and sighed, walking towards it unhurriedly. This wasn't the first time she had been disturbed by people and zombies. Why did they always come to bother her? No sooner had she dealt with the zombie than she heard voices outside. A woman was calling her name. It was Sherry. Mickey, thinking it was Victor's people, fired a warning shot. Dwight had already entered the room from behind. He claimed he meant no harm and, to show goodwill, put down his gun, but Mickey wouldn't trust anyone so easily and quickly subdued Dwight. Despite Dwight insisting they were not with Victor, Mickey remained forceful until Sherry arrived and broke the stalemate.
So how about you let go of mine?
Then they could sit down and talk. Dwight felt the woman before him was strangely familiar and asked if they had met before, but Mickey denied it. They learned of Victor's true intentions. He didn't care about Mickey's safety but wanted to know how she escaped the building. The building's secret passageway, known only to the cavalry, was the only way out, and they thought Mickey had some other way out. In fact, Mickey had escaped by jumping into the zombie horde from the second floor, clad in her homemade armor, and carved out a path. Dwight was in disbelief. That was a horde of thousands of zombies. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity with Mickey until he finally remembered and danced excitedly. Sherry was puzzled, so Dwight explained that Mickey and her husband were one of the best wrestling duos. He and his father used to watch their matches when he was a child. No wonder Mickey is so tough and can kill his way through a zombie horde. Mickey said they had stopped performing and opened a training gym in Texas. In the apocalypse, she and her husband had agreed to meet there if separated, but everyone believed her husband was dead. Sherry encouraged Mickey, saying she and Dwight had almost crossed the entire country to reunite, and they promised to help her get to Texas. But first, they needed to go to the cellar for supplies. They headed for the cellar without delay. When they arrived at the cellar door, it was already open and emitting thick smoke. Something had definitely gone wrong. They rushed in to find the place in disarray. They looked incredulously at the table. Kevin and his wife had been killed. It is obvious that they were shot. Hearing zombie noises from the back room, they turned to see Briga had turned into a zombie. This is the most unacceptable. Sherry was overwhelmed with grief. The family had been kind and good people. All they could do now was to bury them. Dwight was beginning to wonder if he'd done the wrong thing. The family had been ready to leave. Maybe Victor was right. In this new world, a stable life might be everything. Sherry disagreed. We did everything the right way, adhered to the rules, and helped people. It's not our fault. But Dwight had made up his mind. He told Mickey, "I don't want this to happen to you. Maybe your husband is really dead." Mickey retorted, "How do you know? Didn't you two find each other?" Dwight continued, "The world is different now. It's a new world. Going back to Victor's building is the right thing." Mickey scoffed and called Dwight a coward, then turned to leave in search of her husband. Sherry chose to help Mickey. She did not agree with Dwight's view and believed they should not negate their right actions due to others' mistakes. Sherry asked Dwight to return to the bar and think it over. She would help Mickey find her husband and then come back to Dwight, and together they would decide where to go. 4 hours later, they arrived at a village and quickly reached the training gym, the meeting place Mickey and her husband had agreed upon. The noise from the sign attracted many zombies nearby. Sherry drew her dagger and took down a zombie. She then asked Mickey if her armor was still functional. Mickey replied that it was damaged in several places when escaping the building and wouldn't last long, but Sherry thought of a way to get through the zombie horde. Meanwhile, Dwight, on his way back to the bar, unexpectedly found his horse, lost after they were captured by Howard. Dwight cautiously inspected his horse, puzzled about how it ended up there. Then a voice came. It was the man who had stolen the dragon fruit and escaped. He asked Dwight to remove his mask and said, "I found this horse. Now it's mine. You must have seen everything in the cellar. You know the consequences of taking what's mine." Dwight realized it was this man who had killed the family. Eli even pulled up that game console to show it off. Unable to bear it, Dwight suddenly lunged to snatch it, but Eli was prepared. Dwight glanced at the position of the horse.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
Now, the advantage was once again with Dwight. Eli howled in pain as the horse's kick might have broken his waist. Dwight quickly noticed scattered photos on the ground and picked up 2 of them, which shockingly contained death photos of Kevin's family. Dwight had seen this kind of thing in the building. Victor had explained it as recording deaths. He asked Eli if Victor had instructed him to do this. Eli shouted, "I don't know what his name is." Dwight questioned what Victor had offered him in return. Eli said he could get into the building by taking out Kevin and his family. And not only did he get what he wanted, but he screwed Dwight. At this moment, several zombies were approaching them. Dwight took Eli's gun and said, "You may have screwed me, but you won't get what you want." Eli's fate would be to become food for the zombies. Meanwhile, Sherry's plan involved smearing the blood and flesh of zombies on Mickey, clad in armor, and telling her that if she moved fast enough, she might pass unnoticed, and that she would cover for her if discovered. Mickey, no longer hesitating, thanked Sherry and put on her helmet. Sherry provided cover from a distance with her handgun. Mickey walked towards the zombie horde, and luckily, the blood and flesh helped mask her scent, so the zombies didn't notice her. She navigated through the mass of bodies and finally reached the door, only to find it locked from the inside. She had to return and rethink her plan, but a zombie lunged at her and bit her arm. Mickey shook off the zombie with a little effort, but due to inertia, she fell to the ground. The nearby zombies heard the noise and started to surround her. Sherry had no choice but to open fire for cover.
Over here, assholes!
This gave Mickey a chance to breathe, and she pulled out the dagger she carried to start clearing the zombies around her. Although the armor protected her from zombie bites, it also restricted Mickey's movements. Sherry, understanding the situation, broke the glass. Mickey urged Sherry to come inside quickly as she was almost surrounded by zombies. Sherry knew it wasn't the time for hesitation and ran towards the house. Breaking through, after shooting a zombie, Sherry finally burst into the house and covered for Mickey to hurry in, but that was the last bullet. Now they needed to find a way to keep the zombies out of the door. They ended up using sandbags to block the entrance, but this was not a long-term solution as more zombies gathered outside. Mickey looked around and was disappointed that her husband wasn't here. Undeterred, she said her husband might have already found Padre. Her husband had once mentioned building a church with Padre, so they could have their wedding there. Sherry was surprised. "You weren't married?" Mickey explained they were always busy with the gym and wanted everything perfect for their wedding. Their conversation was cut short by the zombies at the door. Mickey had an idea. They could take the zombies down one by one in the ring. Without hesitation, they pushed the sandbags aside and evacuated. Sherry steps on a stool to get to the ring, but Mickey was in tears. Seeing the zombie that walked out of the house, she had considered her husband might be dead, but seeing it shattered the last bit of hope. She had always thought they would marry once everything was prepared, and now there was no chance left. Mickey cried inconsolably, but Sherry knew it wasn't the time for tears as zombies were already coming in. People tend to be lackluster when they're sad. Mickey finally climbs into the ring with Sherry's help. She felt as if the sky was falling. Sherry comforted her. "Your husband would want you to bravely survive." Mickey quickly tried to adjust her emotions, but the situation deteriorated again as the long-unused ring unexpectedly collapsed, rendering their previous plan unworkable. It was only a matter of time before the zombies climbed up. Their only option was to seek help from Victor. Despite his selfishness, Victor hadn't done anything outrageously evil. Looking at the zombies behind them, Mickey nodded in agreement. "Call him." Just as Sherry hesitated, Dwight arrived.
Hurry!
He climbed onto the ring and said, "Don't contact Victor at all costs." Sherry doesn't get it. Don't you want to live in a building? Dwight could only reveal the grim truth about the murder of Kevin's family in the cellar. Victor wants us to lose our beliefs, thinking only his way can ensure survival. Now, I'd rather fight the zombies with you to the death than live cowardly in the building. Watching zombies climb onto the ring, Dwight shot one and then tossed a gun to Sherry. He then threw a second handgun to Mickey. They eliminated some of the zombies, and Dwight took on some of the burden, making it easier to clear the rest. Mickey resorted to her wrestling moves. As if returning to her past glory, Sherry started to walk and slash through the zombies. Even Dwight picked up one of Mickey's trophies to use as a weapon. Half an hour later, only one zombie was left. Dwight encouraged Mickey to perform her signature move one last time. Thus, this zombie killing spree came to an end under Mickey's signature move. Knowing Mickey was grieving, Dwight cleaned up her husband's body and found a letter on him. Mickey tearfully read it aloud. "If you're reading this, I'm no longer here. I searched everywhere for the perfect wedding place. There are some maps on the table that might save you some futile journeys. Don't give up, darling. Keep going to find that place. Don't mourn too long. Find someone who supports you like I did. Look at a sad Mickey Dwight and say we're the ones who'll be there for you." From then on, Dark Horse became a trio who helped others while searching for Padre. Their next destination was the location of another person in need. Upon arriving, they noticed something was amiss. The people there seemed to belong to another organization. Dwight asked, "Are you planning an ambush too?" The man replied, "This isn't an ambush. and then shouted loudly. His teammates gradually emerged. He explained, "This is an invitation, inviting you to collaborate and join us in the search for Padre."